All right, welcome everyone. So thrilled to have so many great folks on the line today. I was just telling my partner in crime, Jeff, here that we've got a great mix of job seekers and career legends and everyone in between. So I'm thrilled that you took time out of your Thursday to come join us. We are in for a very special treat because, and I admit this myself, so often when you come to one of these sessions, you're hearing from, a career coach or someone like that, and not necessarily from the horse's mouth, but not today, because we've got Jeff DeAndrea here. And Jeff is an absolute rock star at really helping us as job seekers and career coaches decode that recruiter black box. We always have that sort of feeling of we apply for a job online, but we're not quite sure what happens and where that resume goes. Jeff is going to sort of take out his flashlight, help us peer inside because he's been there. He's been on the inside at Microsoft, at TikTok most recently, reviewing thousands of applications from the world's top job seekers. And so, because as we always say, this is not your standard webinar, get a chance not just to listen to Jeff, but to learn really deeply. We're going to be throwing pop quizzes at you. We're going to be giving you a chance to volunteer for live role plays, even win a copy of my new ChatGPT book. And then most importantly, I want you to engage by asking questions, throwing out answers, and really supporting anyone who volunteers for those opportunities. So with all that said, let's start with a really interesting question about the recruiter lifestyle. What percentage of recruiters claim to only use LinkedIn when it comes to recruiting? So come on over to the chat and let me know, is it A, B, or C? What percentage say I only use LinkedIn? So Kelly says B. Megan says B. Katie says B. Madeline says B. Joyce says B. What's your guess, Jeff, out of curiosity?
Yeah, I'd actually say probably B.
Okay, the answer is B. And here's the crazy thing. This stat is from 2013. So what this tells you is that if you are just getting on the LinkedIn bandwagon, recruiters have been there for a decade or longer. And so, because we know that LinkedIn is this critical portal that so many recruiters use to find top talent, let's start our journey there. And let's start with this critical insight that LinkedIn is not just where the recruiters are, it's also about making yourself visible to them in that place that they're looking. So I've got a question for you, Jeff, and that is, when you were at Microsoft, when you were at TikTok, how did you start your hiring? What kicked off the entire process even before you got to LinkedIn?
Yeah, great question, Jeremy. It's not something we often get to share with candidates. You kind of want to hold that back end process and what's going on tight to the vest. But I'm glad, without any allegiance to any companies right now today, to share what I saw go on. And I do want to put a disclaimer out that what I share today, which I'm really looking forward to sharing a lot. It's not all from what Microsoft, Xerox copy what they do, or TikTok. It's really coming from a lot of different experiences I've had, but I've definitely worked at those places, so it's in there.
Nice.
So you tell me, Jeremy. I've prepared kind of.
Yeah. So let me put it this way: imagine that there is someone at TikTok who says, "Hey, we've got to get into mobile commerce. We're crushing it with videos, but we got to start selling stuff through TikTok."
Sure.
That means we got to build out a product team. We got to hire product managers. How does that thought process ultimately get to you as the recruiter?
Yeah. So, and actually, I'll zoom in on like university recruiting, which is like early careers hiring, right? Spend a lot of time there. This part of the year, the summer, that's when that's happening, when the business is saying, all right, this is how much money we have to hire this many people this season. So that's our headcount numbers. We're going to hire 500 product managers, something like that. And they go to the recruiting team, which is where I sat, and say, that's what we're trying to do. So we start assessing, we got to make, say, 500 hires. We're going to draw out what schools we're going to. We're going to draw out how we did last year, kind of examine that data, like who did well and who didn't, and how do we be better this year. One strategy I'll say that if I'm a job seeker watching this, what's something I could do with this information? I would say this is where LinkedIn would be great to use. Get to know, if you want to work at PayPal and there's a
Yeah.
specific team, go reach out to the people on that team, even better, the hiring managers
Mm,
already on that team, because they're the ones that's coming to the recruiting teams where I sit. And if you're already top of mind, they're going to spoon feed the candidates that they've met already and say, by the way, I've got like 5 people I already like.
that's awesome.
So
So if
get in.
Cynthia or Sam or Viomesh say, hey, not only do we have to hire, but I've got some insiders that I think would be really amazing, that's going to be very important to you, I assume, as a recruiter.
Jeremy, that's everything.
Yeah.
It's a quotas. It's a sales game. I'm trying to meet my numbers as a recruiter.
Yeah.
So it is kind of a numbers thing. When a hiring manager, who's kind of the North Star for me, I want to make him or her happy with a great hire. If you're already giving me people that you already like that's they're going to the front of the line, frankly.
Okay. Got it. And so, really, I think everyone should have that mental model of, even though the recruiter and the hiring manager work for the same company, in some ways, they're your client, right? You're like an internal service provider because they say, hey, we are engaging you, Jeff, to go on this hunt for us. Is that right?
100%. Think of it like a funnel, right? You're funneling oil into your car. The top of the funnel is the bottom of the funnel, the boss, like who you really want to get in front of. That's the hiring manager. The top of the funnel, that's where you apply online. Maybe the next rung down is the recruiter, but these are just filters for who you really want to get in front of, which is the hiring manager.
That's right. And so,
Yeah.
here's the hiring manager coming to you and saying, Jeff, we got to hire someone at TikTok or Microsoft or wherever. Now, obviously, we'll get into resumes and phone screens and all of that down the road. But if you were to start to build your funnel at the very top, what would you be searching for on LinkedIn? What kinds of terms would you put in if, say, they wanted you to hire a product manager with experience in mobile commerce?
So this is the next step that's really key that ties into your question. I've got the headcount. Now I'm connecting with the hiring managers that these product managers are going to go, be on their teams. And we're speccing out exactly the type of person you want me to find.
So you're building out the job description. Is that right?
Job description.
Okay.
How many years of experience? They have a problem that they're trying to solve, and that's why they're making this hire. So you tell me what tools you need this person to have in their belt, and that's what's going to be on the job description. So it is key to go to that job description and just make sure you are lighting that up on your resume. That's so I'm gonna pull keywords. I'll probably even ask the hiring manager, out of this 1 or 2 page job description, what are like the 3 to 5 keywords I should be pumping into LinkedIn? And then those people that pop up, those are the people that we want.
Okay, and so I want to encourage everyone to put questions for Jeff in the chat, because as you can see, we're going to go back and forth. We're also about to do a demo in a few minutes, so get ready to volunteer if interested. But my big question is, I hear from job seekers so often, and I felt this way when I was a job seeker, that job descriptions are just so hard to parse. They're like, 5,000 words long. They have 27 different bullet points. How should a job seeker really figure out what matters and what doesn't within all of that text?
A few approaches here. The most simple one I actually think of is, and I think this is just like maybe how humans might work, if you ask me, psychology of a recruiter. I think the stuff closest to the top is maybe the most important, right?
Okay,
You're gonna
so
that's
this
most
is like
top.
the number one job of the product manager at this company, because that's the top bullet point.
I mean, if that's what I put down first when I put pen to the paper as the hiring manager, why would I put the least important thing first? That's most top of mind, and then I'm kind of like trying to squeeze more lemon out of the lemon juice, like
right.
down. But start from the top, and then I know there's some useful tools. Jeremy, maybe this is Chat GPT, like that will just pull. Like, looks like there's a lot of these words popping up.
Right. You say like, hey, let me just grab all that stuff. Then you come over here to your buddy. You say, what are the 10 most important keywords? Paste in the JD, and then bam, there you go, right? So it doesn't have to be too much like rocket science, especially in this day and age. But I totally agree with you. I think even as a hiring manager, I always share the most important stuff at the very top. So I agree there. Okay, so now you've built out this job description. When it's time for you to actually find the candidates to fill the job description on LinkedIn, now obviously you're using the fancy LinkedIn recruiter platform. which people have heard me talk about in the past, costs like $10,000 a year per seat. So it's hard to get our fingers on. That being said, it is in some ways like LinkedIn itself. It's a search box. What would you be putting into it?
Sorry, what would I as a recruiter be putting in?
Yeah, like so you have all these
know?
filters, all these potential things to search for. Like, how do you even begin your search as a recruiter when you're boiling this massive ocean of a billion people?
Yeah, I would say, and I only want to speak to like how I truly used it.
Yeah.
How I truly used it is I used the keywords.
Mhm.
For me, being an early careers recruiter, I was recruiting at certain target schools.
Yeah.
So I would even go to, you know, Simon Fraser University, which is one of my schools,
Ah,
and search within that for software engineer intern.
right.
Any keywords I'll use, but I'll be honest, that's one I went to a lot.
Cool.
And then let's see who pops up.
You might
Uh,
say, show me product managers from Simon Fraser. Would you put in any skill keywords like things like A/B testing or roadmap or whatever?
to be honest, I know that is going to be a very practical way that recruiters are doing it. And so yes, keywords. And when I consult recruiter colleagues and old friends that are, climb the ranks in recruiting, it is the keywords. That is the way.
Cool, cool.
Okay. Now, for you computer science folks out there, software engineer, like a software engineer intern is like one of the, that's the driver
Yep.
for these recruiters. So just FYI.
Got it. And so then you're going to click on someone's profile and you're going to have to make a snap judgment. Like, just give people a sense. How many seconds would you spend looking at someone's profile before you decide to reach out or move on?
Yeah, I mean, I truly believe it is like a matter of moment, like a few seconds.
Wow, wow, that fast.
Yeah.
And so, like, what is your brain even doing in those few seconds? Like, how can you possibly be making that snap judgment? What's it based on?
I'm remembering a lot of my performance is judged on the candidates I put forward that eventually make it to the final round interviews. If 10 are at the final round interview, if 1 out of 10 are getting offers, I'm not doing a good job.
Yeah.
If 5, 6, 7 of them, that's better, right? So I'm looking at profiles and I'm remembering like, okay, like who's been making it through?
Yeah.
Like what kinds of experience? Okay, the folks that have had internships or previous early career experiences at this company, for some reason, they're really killing it in our interviews. Like, so I'm looking for common threads like that. After that, this is a big one, Jeremy, I think really important for job seekers to distinguish. You have a couple audiences with your LinkedIn and your resume. One, the recruiter, a big one, and then the hiring manager. The recruiter so often has not done this job personally.
That's right. You haven't been a product manager. You just hired product managers.
Exactly. So you need to make sure that, and again, product manager, I'm going to just put in this, say, the computer science kind of way. That is a whole nother language for someone, and most technical recruiters recruiting for computer science, software engineer folks are not engineers themselves. So what that means is that first audience you have, you need to write your content, frame it in a way that I can digest.
Got it. So even if it's like super technical stuff, it can't just be a big like word cloud of acronyms. It's got to say, I'm a software engineer, or I'm a machine learning engineer, or whatever the thing is you're looking for.
Those keywords, and then even better, because hey, the job market, like it's sort of slim pickings in some companies right now, right? In tech, you need to become even sharper. So what's the action there for you? Okay, your work is a different language from mine, but what I can do is if someone's an achiever, they move the needle at work, they have accomplishments, and you're framing that in such an easy way that I don't have to fish for it on your profile and resume, I can work with that and I can go to the hiring manager and be like, this person is killing it.
Nice.
So that's the first audience.
There's
Yeah.
2 things here for the recruiter. There's the patterns that you're getting used to. Like, okay, I've seen us hire great people from this company or from this school. And then there's also the like patterns inside someone's career where you see them, so maybe they started out as an intern and they rose up the ranks and you're like, oh, if they could do that at SAP, imagine what they could do at Microsoft, right?
It's a huge signal that look, someone else has said yes to you and you've achieved there. That's huge. And that's one thing I'm so glad you mentioned the pattern. In this kind of situation where there's a lot of volume of hiring happening, this is not like the one hire and I get to spend months on it. There's hundreds of people we need to hire. There becomes a pattern, there becomes an archetype of who I am kind of just saying yes to, and like whether I'm conscious of it or not. And so
Yeah.
it's your job to fit the pattern
Uh-huh.
and then be in that pattern and then break the pattern. Like where's
Oh, interesting.
fit the pattern and then break the pattern. I had a head of tech recruiting at one of the big tech firms here in Silicon Valley come talk to our students. And that's exactly what he said. He said, you have to fit the pattern and then break the pattern once you're in it.
Love it. And so
Yeah.
maybe to sort of walk the talk there, let's get a volunteer who's willing to share their profile with us so we can talk about, are they fitting the pattern? And then are they breaking it in a way that makes you want to recommend them to the hiring manager? So if you're feeling brave right now, put your hand right up. First person to do so gets a copy of this book and gets to chat with myself and Jeff. And Kitty, I saw your hand go up right away. So Kitty, I'm going to give you the chance to unmute. Feel free to do so. And then we're excited to chat with you. Welcome, Kitty.
Okay. Thank you so much. I was at another of your events, and so anyways, I'm excited. So do you want me to like open my resume or my LinkedIn? Sorry.
Yeah, let's pull up your LinkedIn profile if that's okay. Do you mind if I put it on my screen? Is that all right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. And everyone, please give Kitty a lot of love in the chat because it takes guts to be a volunteer, especially being his
It's
first volunteer.
probably, sorry,
Ah.
it's actually because that's not my real name. Oh,
Okay.
there you found me. Okay,
There
great.
you go. Yeah, yeah. LinkedIn never fails. That's the power of the tool. Okay, so Kitty, set the stage a little bit for Jeff here. What kinds of roles would you love to be found for? And then Jeff is going to put on that kind of recruiter hat to give you his honest take.
Okay, I'm interested. I really want to do research. Hoping to one day do a PhD, so hoping to get more experience for that.
Nice.
So I would like to do research, especially qualitative research,
Cool.
community-based, and I just completed my MPH, so I'm
Congratulations.
focused mostly on like food access and food security, so applying to a lot of places that address food access and food security.
Very cool.
So
oh yeah, go for it, Jeff. Take it away.
before even looking at your profile, the first thing that I'd say is, if I'm looking at your profile, recruiting for a company that you'd be interested in, what I need to see is you just finished your degree. It sounds like an MPH. I need to see what I'd say a demonstrated interest in the work that you're doing, and I'd say the degree isn't enough. So I would like, show me in the 2 or 3 or 4 years that you were in school, the demonstrated interest, you know, ideally from outside of class. You can loop class stuff into it too. So that's what I'd be looking for right now before
That's awesome. And so let's just dive right in. No time like the moment. So Jeff, put your recruiter hat back on if you don't mind. Where are you looking for that demonstrated interest? Is that in the headline? Are you looking in Kitty's about section? Where are you expecting to find that hunger that you're talking about?
Wherever it's going to show up.
Okay.
You know, so yeah, I'm the big, you know, they say in the newspaper world, like above the fold.
Aha, yes.
So you do want to, I don't know if I'm going to get to the end of your profile. It's for sure the end of someone's resume, even one pager resumes. So you need to like, you got my attention at the top. I mean, you could argue the top is the photo, right?
Oh, right. It's blank right now. Like,
you could
could
argue
Kitty
that.
come over here and like grab something that really kind of lays down her interest in sustainable agriculture or food security, things like that. And that way it would really catch your attention, even at the very top of the fold, it sounds like.
Psychology of a recruiter. So you're trying to trend me to a yes very quickly with those few seconds you have. So that's already probably helpful, right? That relevant photo here in Silicon Valley. I know a lot of students are like, I want to work in Silicon Valley. So they would tell me like, I'm trying to like put the Golden Gate Bridge in the background, or, you know, like,
right.
in the Bay Area.
So just be clear about the headline then, because I think the photo is kind of a slam dunk. Okay, let's fill it up with something beautiful and relevant. For the headline, because it is sort of character limited, what do you want Kitty to say? Should she say like, I'm seeking these kinds of jobs, or I have this experience with this kind of work?
Yeah, I think it's probably a combination of like, I'm always like, let's, almost like elevator pitch
Yeah.
in less than a sentence. So like, what's the thing maybe best about you, a most marketable thing from your career path so far? And if there's a word or two that might capture that, sometimes people are using these like X company or whatever. So what's the thing that's most marketable? And then maybe a futurizing thing of like what the role you're trying to go into next, or the field,
Ooh, I
so
like that.
kind of a combo of those two is how I'd try it.
Yeah.
By the way, as you try these things, I'm a big fan of like testing it out. So like, I'm doing that, I'm not getting any more interview callbacks. That Jeff guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Change it.
Right.
Give it a week or two, and then
Yeah.
like no recruiters are reaching out. So
And just to be
all
clear,
about
like
adjustments.
you can see that in real time. If you are looking at your profile dashboard, you can see how many people are viewing your profile. And oftentimes you can see the exact people who are viewing it. And you can start to say, okay, if I'm not getting the kinds of activity that I was hoping for, maybe I need to work on that a little bit. So definitely, I 100% agree with that, Jeff. Like, let's make sure that Kitty is getting the results she wants.
Even
Okay,
like a very small thing, Jeremy, like
yeah,
some people you just don't know what's important to this person that's this recruiter, this hiring manager.
yeah,
One little thing, Kitty, your LinkedIn, the URL, you can edit that to chop off all the, looks like a phone number on the end. That's what they give us. You could just make it your name, and that's like an attention to detail thing, right? In your settings. So just this little thing.
How do you do that? Sorry.
Just go
sure,
to
sure.
settings, and then you
Yeah.
could.
So if you come onto your own profile, Kitty, you can click this little edit icon that says edit your public profile and URL. And then you can also see how many people are viewing your profile and get a sense of, are you making the kinds of splash that you want with the kinds of people you want? Okay, now I have a question for Kitty. Kitty, I really appreciate you being so generous and sharing your profile here. Kitty, to Jeff's point, what could you list in that headline that might both signal what you're great at and also give recruiters like Jeff a taste of where you want to head?
Like how many words? Because obviously don't want it to be like
So you are limited to about 220 characters, but you're nowhere close right now. So
okay.
feel free to go big.
Um, man, I don't know, like shaping the future of food as medicine. I don't know.
Yeah, I love that. You say passionate about food security and seeking opportunities um, in the field of food as medicine. Any of these things are going to give Jeff more than what you have today, which is a sense of where your trajectory is pointing. Because again, he's looking for those patterns. He's looking to sort of imagine where you're headed and whether that makes sense at his firm. So
Kitty,
thank you. Yeah.
sorry, Jeremy, go ahead, finish up.
No, go for it, Jeff.
So one way I'd approach it is, if you can do, I'm a big fan of informational interviews, pandemic world, call them Zoom coffee chats. If you could get someone that, a hiring manager type person to do one of these Zoom coffee chats with you. And then I'm just curious about your career. I'm very impressed what you've done. I'm a recent grad. Now you got them on the hook. Hey, what if I give you my resume or LinkedIn profile? I'm just curious from my path, what do you think is most marketable about me for the kind of work that I'm going for? And then what that person says might help you with what to put up there.
Yeah. Look at all these rock stars who went to the same school, got the same degrees, and are now a few years ahead of Kitty. Kitty could be reaching out to folks like Nanya to get those role models, to get those mentors in her life and guide her on those questions. I love that, Jeff.
I'm also, this is huge. I'm a big fan of, hey, don't recreate the wheel. If there's people, and there are, that have LinkedIn profiles that are in the role that you are seeking, what are they putting in their headline?
Yeah. There you go.
I'm not saying like Xerox it or whatever, but like maybe kind of like you could mimic, or you can emulate.
Like I had never heard that phrase nutrition equity, although Kitty probably has. But maybe that's the critical keyword for that space. And having it on her profile helps Kitty unlock the same opportunity. Cool. Okay. So it sounds like that top sort of above the fold section, which includes your cover photo, your headline, that's key. Anything else, Jeff, that you're going to look at, or are you going to make a decision right away? Like how fast?
Well, I definitely would, and I hope recruiters would do
And be honest with us, because I think people here are so hungry. They're like, I don't want to get any more smoke blown up my butt. I just want to hear the truth about how recruiters do the job.
like, look, at the end of the day, if I'm going to put 10 resumes in front of a hiring manager, I want to put like 8 to 9 really solid resumes in front, maybe one exceptional person that's like, hey, I feel like there might be something there. So I'll have had that hiring manager discussion. It's probably some previous experience that's relevant is going to put you in that 8 to 9. That's like, Jeff's doing a good job.
Yeah.
So I'm going to scroll down and look at the experience section.
And
right?
I noticed, by the way, you didn't say anything about looking at her posts. Is that accurate?
I bet there are recruiters that do. They're probably, I've seen this as a strategy of commenting on posts.
Right. I've heard that as a strategy too, but here's the thing. I've never met a recruiter, and I've met hundreds who care about posts. So often we as job seekers are led astray by this conventional wisdom. Oh, I better be posting. No, if Jeff has 3 seconds to decide your fate, he's not even going to look at that, let alone care about it. He just needs to know, what are you focused on? What have you done? And so I think that helps people really clarify, Jeff.
Plain and simple. Like that's where I'm going. I'm going to go to the experience section, and I'm hoping to see some previous work experience. And then sometimes folks were heads down in class. They didn't have any time to work or intern. Then you got to get creative with these sections here of the things you did do that show the demonstrated interest, like whether it be a passion project, maybe it's in-class projects, fine, but I just need to see that. And that's one of the main things I see go wrong when I work with a client and past students, when they're like not getting interviews, is they're kind of just like coming as their true self on the resume, when the reality is it's not A through Z your experiences I need. It's just this little cut, just the relevant stuff. And I think for LinkedIn, it's the same.
Yeah, absolutely. And so let's pause there. I want to thank you so much, Kitty, for being so generous today. Everyone, please shower Kitty with love in the chat. We will be sending you a copy of the book afterwards. And now I want to come back to some of the questions that have been piling up, because there are so many juicy ones. So Jeff, I'm going to pull out a couple for you here. We're going to start back with this question of just sort of, how do you even begin these searches? Let me start with a question that Kirsten asked. How do we connect with the right people? You mentioned that idea of getting in touch with the hiring manager or getting in touch with prospective mentors. What do you think is the best way to link up with them? That question got 3 upvotes. And by the way, please give a thumbs up to any question that you're excited about, and I'll try to focus on those. So any tips on networking on LinkedIn? If you find someone who's cool, how do you reach out to them?
How do you reach out to them, or how do you find them?
Yeah, so let's imagine that the finding isn't that hard, because like,
Okay.
Again, in this case, I was just putting in the things that Kitty already cares about. Show me someone who has the same degree from the same school, who has the same passion. And sure
Right.
enough, there were tons of people. So that's pretty easy. But I think a lot of people get to this page and they say, okay, now what? I just have total brain freeze at this point. Any tips?
Yeah. And so I've heard a stat from LinkedIn that 80% of jobs happen through a referral. So this is really important, what we're about to talk about here. That means the online application is not where most people get jobs.
Yeah.
So if Nanya's of interest to me, number one, I would set the context that do not be hurt if someone doesn't respond to you. It's a numbers game. It's a sales game. I'd say for every 10 you send out, if 1 or 2 accept your connect request, that's a great hit rate. So what I would do is, and when people have reached out to me, I would look at Nanya's profile and find something that organically truly is like, whoa, like kind of gives me a little bit of like, I'm really impressed or curious about this part of their path. That's where I'd go, that genuine interest. And then there's 2 strategies. And then you write up a connect request, which is free.
Yeah.
By the way, you can So I think there's sometimes you can't message someone, but most of the time you can.
Yeah.
If you can't message someone, if you join the same group, if you look at the groups that
Great hack, Jeff. I love that.
you can message anyone for free if you join the same group that they're in.
What Jeff is talking about is, let's say you're a member of your school's alumni group on LinkedIn. Any other person in that alumni group, even if you don't know them already, you can send them a direct message. That is an amazing hack, Jeff. Thank you for calling that out.
Yeah, and then it's a two-pronged approach. So connect request, two-pronged. One, purely like interested in your career path, Nanya, Zoom coffee chat, would you be up for it? And I think that's probably the second message. The first one is like, you only have like 2 or 3 sentences, so you got to be concise. But so it's probably like, I'd love to connect with you. Recent grad, as a recent grad, really curious about what this YZ in your career path would be great to connect. And then the second one maybe is setting up the time, or you might work the Zoom coffee chat in the first message too. But the two-pronged is either the organic way of just Zoom coffee chat, and the second one is screw the Zoom coffee chat. She just looks like she might be a hiring manager. I'm just going to say there's this role at their company.
Aha.
Is me applying straight to who looks like a hiring manager right now.
So if you see someone who has this on their profile, and it's not just, oh, that's cool, that's an interesting person from my school, but their headline is actually, I'm hiring for marketers, I'm hiring for my company, you might as well skip beating around the bush and go right for it, because that's what they need anyway.
100%. And when this happens and you're a fit, I mean, I remember having a recruiter panel of 4 of the bigger tech firms in Silicon Valley. We posed that question to them: is it cheating if these folks reach out to you on LinkedIn instead of just relying on the online application? And unanimous, it was, you should be doing that.
Yes.
So
yes, I love that. Okay, Anita Manuel, who actually runs the Career Center at San Jose State, has a really important question, which is also thumbed up. We see excellent communication skills on pretty much every job description. And so I think one of those JDs we were looking at before, half of the bullets were like, must be a good communicator, must be a good writer, blah, blah, blah. Are you actually assessing for the skill? And if so, how?
all right. Again, this is just me, right? I didn't really look at the skills. Like, that might have got you found in a keyword search, but like, I was looking at the experiences, the projects, the doing, the accomplishments. Like, I was not looking at the skills. Now, I think the hiring manager might a lot more closely. And I hit my goals when I was a recruiter, so I got it. The job was done well.
Yeah.
And I didn't look at skills.
And this is an important thing, though, because I think I want to be really blunt about this, because I think it's one of the things that holds back our world. Just because you are great at doing the job doesn't mean you're going to get hired. You also have to be great at the process of getting the job, which is in some ways very different from what you actually do on the job. Would you agree with that statement, Jeff?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Getting a job is a job too.
That's right. That's right.
So my twist on that would be, don't omit the skills. My suggestion has always been, embed them into your descriptions of your jobs and internships. Just like have them in there. So then for the applicant tracking system, it's still in there, but a word bank of keywords. I'm not saying don't take it off, because it might get you found. I just didn't read it once I was reading the resume.
Yeah.
I have seen some hiring managers though, like when I've been at career fairs, like kind of look at some of that. Okay, they've got some of the skills we need. So there's 2 audiences again, recruiter and then hiring manager.
Love that. All right, let's say maybe one more question, which was also thumbed up, and then we will move on to the next topic. So this one got a lot of thumbs up from Samya. If we're a career switcher, how do we make sure that we incorporate the relevant keywords? This is that classic catch-22, Jeff, of I know what I want to do, but they're telling me I can't do what I want to do until I've done what I want to do. How do people get around that?
Whew, that's a good one. So this is where framing, creating a narrative that you are that person that demonstrated interest. My career, it aligns. I know, and I'm transitioning. I haven't had a job, right? So how are you going to convince me? This is where I recommend creating a new section on your resume. So if you're trying to be a product manager, I've actually had quite a few clients.
Let's just take my profile as an example. Like, let's say I'm sick of marketing. I'm so jealous of all the PMs that I work with. I want to make the leap, but I haven't been a PM before. What do I do?
So you need to create a section that says, we're going for product management.
Exactly.
A PM section, right? A PM section.
Yeah.
And this is stuff that's come from all around your career, even back to the boot camp you took recently. Like, it can come from anywhere, but you basically create a bank of experiences that is PM, and it comes from a lot of different places, but I've done it. And now it's not fish. I don't have to fish for a narrative through your career. You're starting the conversation with, I've done it.
I love that.
And
so basically, like, you're gathering up the critical mass of credibility to make the case that you belong, even if it hasn't been your official title. Because so often people have that imposter syndrome. They say, oh, I haven't been a PM, therefore I'll never be a PM. Versus we've all done stuff with relevant skills. Let's just get credit for it in a way that the recruiter can appreciate. Is that right?
Yep. And here's the next part that's key. Yes, that's totally right. You've done this now on your resume and LinkedIn, but remember, I got to put 10 people in front of this hiring manager, and I want 8 or 9 of them to be like slam dunks.
Yeah.
Maybe one exceptional candidate. So that's not a great chance, because I'm the exceptional candidate now, right? So if you ask me, the strategy is, it becomes super, super important to get in front of a hiring manager, because the hiring manager can assess for intangibles, can assess for, like, I can imagine this actually adding a lot to our team. The recruiter, I've never done the job, so this person just has not had those job experiences. I don't think they could do it. The hiring manager, you have a better shot with.
Ooh, this is really killer advice though, Jeff, because you're saying, okay, there's 2 ways you could attack it. One is you could try to restructure your resume, throw it into an online application black box, hope for the best. The other is you say, you know what? I'm never going to win in that black box up against people who've been PMs for 10 years. I'm going to go around the black box, right to the hiring manager, build a connection with that person. Is that right?
I mean, in some ways you could argue they should do this anyway every time, but I think it becomes more important in this situation, because they can assess for potential way better, especially when someone doesn't have that long track record, than the recruiter.
Yeah. Well, I love that. This is amazing stuff, Jeff. I'm going to steal some of these techniques if you don't mind. Let's, in the interest of time, let's go take some more pop quizzes and some more demos, and then we'll come back and answer questions as well. So next pop quiz. If you had to guess how many seconds the average recruiter spends reviewing a resume, Jeff may have already tipped his hand here a little bit talking about profiles, but do you think it's 6 seconds, 25 seconds, or 60 seconds? And I like that Helena put an A, Marcel put an A, and then George put an A like 8 times, because this is the craziest stat in the whole world of hiring, and the truest as well. You could have spent 66 hours on your resume, but you still get 6 seconds of attention. So with that in mind, our key insight here is we've got to understand how recruiters actually read resumes, not just in our fantasy minds, but in the real world, and then make sure that our resume is built accordingly. If anyone out there is feeling brave enough to actually share their resume with us, again, this is a no judgment zone. It's all about learning. Just raise your hand right now, and we will give you a chance to get a copy of this book and have your resume reviewed by an actual expert. Now, Manav, I saw your hand go up, so I'm going to ask you to unmute and welcome Manav.
Hey, hi, I am an incoming MS student, and I recently worked on my resume, so I can actually share my resume.
Oh, that's incredible. Manav, do you have it in a link or somewhere that I can get access to it?
Sure. Wait a second, I'll upload it, and can you wait for a second?
Yeah. So we'll just set things up as you go upload that. Why don't you set the stage here, Jeff? Tell us a little bit about how you even think about resumes, how they would appear for you on your screen.
Yeah, and I want to actually share a quick mini story, and it's about resumes. So when I was a recruiter, with the career coaching background. I have a counseling degree in student affairs. Like I'm cheering for the job seeker.
Yeah.
And I remember doing a resume review, within the last year, being at a career fair, and I had a resume at a career fair, someone's resume that I could tell it wasn't in the best shape. And I said, okay, I'm gonna like try and take a little more than 6 seconds here and give this person, a little like coaching and like not write them off because of it. And the line was just growing long, it was a long line. And I was like, damn, I tried. As the career coach, none of my colleagues are. If I'm not can't even take more time, there's no way any other recruiter is. And I care. So that's how important it is. Like you really get less than 6 seconds.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
appreciate you having done that in that situation, Jeff. And I appreciate you helping Manav here. Manav, just to set Jeff up for success, what's the job that you want?
So basically, I'm targeting product management jobs,
Perfect.
and like I have experience as product management intern here back in India, but now I am going to pursue masters in the US. So I would like that's a total shift in the way the hiring works in India and in US. So I would like to know about how should I tailor my resume, like for the skills, for the keywords, and all those stuff, that I get passed through the ATS stage and like get the chance to interview.
Love it. And Manav,
Can I
thank you
ask how
again
this-
for your generosity. So sorry, go for it, Jeff.
Can I ask how this resume has been performing? Has it been getting you interviews?
I have not yet started applying. So like I am an incoming fall 2023 student. So yeah, this is just the background work that I'm doing right now here in India.
Got it. Well, the good news is you have some experience for sure. So we have a lot to work with here. I'd say some slight tweaks I might suggest. Overall, I will say this is actually just like on the look, which funny enough, there's like a look test that I'll give a resume like before reading it. Like, am I starting?
And you have to, right? Because you're just on the clock.
Yeah, like, and well, I wasn't even like, whatever. As a coach now, I'm like, when I was a recruiter on the look test, before reading it, am I already starting to feel like, or like, oh, this is a pattern that I'm used to saying yes to, And I would say this feels like a pattern that I would probably be a little more inclined to say yes to.
Oh, interesting.
Largely just because of the previous experience. Now I have to dive in and like read the bullets and really start like, again, reflecting what the hiring manager is looking for, because it's competitive now. There's less spots. So even people with previous experience are not getting jobs or internships as easily. But at least my gut feeling, you've got experience. That's great. One thing I might adjust experience, like maybe we call that product management experience or product experience.
Oh.
We just want to prime the recruiter's brain. Again, like I'm reading from top to bottom, left to right. So above the fold, right? Like we just need to like product experience. You're making me fish a little bit, right? By it saying experience. So you're just making me use some calories just to think a little bit, just make it easy.
I love the way you put it, Jeff. One thing we know about our species biologically is we hate to expend calories. That's why we have such like an innate tendency to laziness and relaxation. And if you're going to make Jeff work, that's going to count against you, right? Just at a fundamental level.
I'm just saying how it would have felt when I was doing it. The other one is if there are any particular projects that you think are kind of like, man, this is going to really resonate from all my research for this company. I really want this job. You might actually draw out like oftentimes projects are like more used for people that don't have experience. You have it, but you might have a featured project featured project in as a PM, like if you really want to showcase something. And then the last one, what are like the 2 or 3 best things about you for this job? And if they're just kind of strewn throughout your resume, maybe we collect those and we put them to the top. Like start the meal with dessert. Like don't make me fish for what is the best part about you. And that would be a version of that is like what we said when someone said they're a transitioner, like create a highlight section. I love the highlight section. Like, don't just give me the best thing.
Ooh.
I might not read the second half of your resume.
And so that's a really important thing though, because I feel like there's always this debate about, should I have a summary? Should I have an objective section? Are you saying the highlight should be there at the top or it's something at the bottom?
I like them at the top, and it gives you literally just what's the 2 or 3 best things about you. PM highlights, right? Or just maybe just highlights if you've got product management experience. You know, you want to get PM too much, like overload.
Yeah.
And
So
then
does that, sorry to interrupt, like, does that contain the, let's say, the achievements of the previous jobs, or are
Exactly.
those specific keywords that we encountered in the job description and we would like to include here?
exactly, like what are the top 2 or 3 bullets in the job description, or you know what seems to be so key to the hiring manager, and you got to show they got a problem they need solved. I can solve it. I've done this in the past, you know. So just put the best things there, and it also gives you room for some of us that might have like a blemish, perceived blemish, like I'm transitioning from a different career, or I took a sabbatical. It gives you a bullet where you can like own the narrative. You can like address the blemish and not. You can be like, hey, took time off for XYZ, did this during that time. Like you can, it gives you a place to do something like that. So highlights.
Okay, so I think if we were sort of like crystallize that advice, it's start with your strongest, most relevant stuff. So even before education, even before experience, just give me like that Sports Center highlight reel version of your career.
Yeah.
Then make sure that when you do experience, give it in a way that's wrapped up in that specific thing that I'm trying to fill. Would those be sort of the main call outs, Jeff?
Yeah. It's the framing. I think you could almost get a job by like if you just had these sections on your resume, achievements. Like if you just had these things called out, I'm already like kind of saying yes before I even read it. Like you're getting me there.
Yeah. So it sounds like here's the key thing, Manav. You might feel like, oh my goodness, like I'm making this cross-cultural jump. I'm starting this program. All of that is super hard. But at the end of the day, your job is just make Jeff's job easy. Make it super clear that you're that slam dunk candidate he was talking about from the get-go. So he wants to say yes to you the very moment he pulls up your resume. Does that make sense, Manav?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
It should be this sharp.
Yeah.
It should be this sharp. One of the leaders of our UR team, university recruiting team, when I was doing it, I remember saying, look, when we go to a campus and there's like 100 people in an auditorium, there might be like 4 or 5 people we really, really want to talk to. And I was like, damn, like that's when I was like new. I was like, okay, so how are you going to make sure your resume is that competitive? If it's a job you really want, it needs to be like that. You got to come correct. You know, you got one shot at a first impression. That's all you have. So you got to seize that.
I love the way you called that out, Jeff, because I do think so often, especially for folks who are in school, they're taking their unique talents and kind of turning them into commodities. You know, every single MBA student's resume looks the same section, same formatting, whatever. And you're saying, hey, if you're going to stand out in this super crowded field, you got to punch a little harder. And that's going to be tough, but it's going to be worth it.
And then when everyone's punching hard, like, and there's less seats than usual, which is what's happening in tech. So it's getting a little tighter. One idea again, just something to try on your resume is this, like, just have this one thing that breaks the pattern that I've done all the professional product management stuff. And I think this now loops the argument for something like interests. And my old colleague, Dan Morris at Make School, now Dominican University of California, he said, if you're going to put an interest on your resume, don't just make it an interest, make it an extreme interest.
Aha.
So like, not, I like water sports. No, I am an outrigger canoeer. I've done 30 plus races, half of them for 30 miles or more in XYZ states. And the thing that you're giving yourself when everyone is like, got the 4.0 and all the internships, what's the next rung on the ladder that's going to trip it for the hiring manager? And you just never know who's going to really appreciate that experience. Maybe they're a water sports person themselves, but maybe they just, whoa, you're just showing me another piece that you're going to add to the culture. It doesn't hurt.
I love that, Jeff. So true. So true. Manav, I cannot thank you enough. It took a tremendous guts to put this out there, but it is the single best way to learn. And I'll be sending you a copy of my book as a big thank you. So thank you so much, Manav.
Thank you so much for the feedback as well.
That's good. That's good.
All right. So now we're down to our final section. And by the way, just to understand, Jeff, do you have a couple minutes after the top of the hour just to stick on if there are more questions?
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to try to get as many questions as possible. Before we do, one last question for everyone on this line. What percentage of candidates ultimately get to interview with the hiring manager? Not just with the recruiter, not just talking to someone at the company, to the big dog, the person at the end of the funnel, as Jeff said. Is it 5%, 0.5%, or 0.05%? How depressing are your odds? So Raymond says A, Akshaya says B, Megan says C, Tongi has 8,000 C's, George has even more. Turns out the answer is somewhere in the middle. It's about B. I think this funnel, which was published in the Wall Street Journal last year, is really instructive because I don't know if this is true for your experience, Jeff, but 1,000 people are applying to jobs. About 4 or 6 are making it all the way to the interview stage, making it to the hiring manager. So even though the odds are tough, they're not impossible. Would you sort of agree with that assessment?
No, this sounds like very realistic.
Okay, so with that in mind, that last final stage before you can talk with the hiring manager is you got to talk to Jeff. You got to talk to the recruiter. And we're all used to these phone screens. So if you can understand what the purpose of the phone screen is, and then how to ultimately ace it by understanding what the recruiter needs, you can ultimately get to the big boss. And so if you would like to volunteer for any of these opportunities, I'm just going to lower the existing hands. Please raise your hand right now, and we will do a little role play to see how phone screens are done in the best possible way. So just put your hand up right now if you're interested in volunteering. And before we choose anyone, Jeff, just set the stage.
Yeah.
Why do recruiters do phone screens? What is their purpose in the context of the funnel?
Well, we've got a bunch of people that have applied online for these few roles we have. This is one of the first methods that we can start kind of vetting that group for who is going to move forward down the funnel. Some companies actually will send something like a technical screen, like a coding challenge for those type roles. And then maybe you get to a phone interview. But for a lot of jobs, phone interview is the first line of defense.
Got it. So it's kind of like the recruiter says, hey, the hiring manager and their team, their time is valuable. I can't put anyone onto their schedules until I'm going to be sure they're going to make me look good. Is that kind of it?
Yeah. And just a personal anecdote, I remember I didn't want to give any help to my candidates, very little for the first round interview.
Yeah.
They made it past that, which was often then to the final round after that. That's when I poured in the help. I was so invested to get my quotas fulfilled, right? But I didn't want anyone to get too much help early on because we want the really solid ones to make it through to the final round.
Got it. Got it. So you need to make sure they're the real deal. Now, to help Arvalji, who is our first volunteer here, I'm going to let you unmute and let us know your first name, R, so we can address you properly. Welcome aboard. Hi there.
Hi, my name's Rahima.
Rahima, thank you so much for volunteering.
Hi.
And Rahima, we're going to do a very fun, very light little role play here. Just tell us a little bit about what you're excited about career-wise.
That's a very good question. I feel like I've been put on the spot. What I'm excited about career-wise is really making an impact in the world. I feel like that my education and experience is not just a privilege, but a responsibility to do good in the world. So I'm looking to combine my commercial background and being business as a force for good.
I love that. And so if you were thinking about the dream job at some point, what would the title be? If you could sort of close your eyes and imagine what that looks like.
That's a really good question. I should know that.
And it doesn't have to be written in stone, just for the purposes of our demonstration today. Throw something out that feels exciting.
Global Partnerships Officer.
Okay, very cool. And so maybe you'd be working with either a nonprofit or like a double bottom line organization or something, trying to build partnerships to.
No, it doesn't need to be impact or not for profit. It should actually be a for profit. That's
Great.
I don't think those are mutually exclusive.
Sure. Okay. And so now let's imagine that your resume looked really good. It passed all the tests that we were just talking about with Jeff. But before Jeff is going to put you in front of the big boss, who might actually be the CEO in this case, he's got to make sure that you're legit. So he schedules this phone screen. What I want to do is I want to do a little role play just to see how you might answer naturally and to give you a sense of what's happening inside Jeff's head as he hears your answer. So
Okay.
Jeff, if you don't mind, what's the first kind of question you would typically ask a candidate when you kick off a phone screen?
Yeah, generally something along the lines of like, tell me a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in our company.
Yeah. So imagine that you've got this dream job here, Rahima, and, with company X, whatever it might be. Tell us why you're excited about this kind of job.
Okay, I have a tendency to ramble. So the question is, why am I excited about this particular job in this company?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll imagine, okay, there's one that I spoke to recently. So it's a, should I tell you what it is or just answer the question?
Yeah, tell us the company if it adds a little color.
Yeah, so the company is actually based out of the UK. It's growing globally. It's a mixture of an online and in-person platform that brings people together working on impact and sustainability. So it's like a
Ooh.
members club with an online platform, and they have an investment arm as well, and they're actually growing their platform. So they're really building a community and a platform.
I love that. And so of course they need some
To the good.
partnerships. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So what I'm really excited about it is that they're early in their journey. They're less than, I think less than 7 or 8 years old. They've actually relaunched since the pandemic, and they're now opening up their first international location. And I think there's a lot of, not just the timing is right. The timing is right to grow globally and internationally. The appetite is ripe as well, because people are putting a lot of money and a lot of focus and attention on sustainability and pumping money into impact startups. And I think there's a lot of opportunity to mix that with being commercial as well. So obviously, as an entity, they need to be able to make money and sustain themselves.
Yeah. And so tell us an answer to Jeff's question. Why does this role feel like the right one for you right now?
So why me and why now?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just realizing that I have a lot to.
And don't worry, like I said, no judgment zone.
I'm
just
like,
wanna
I have a lot.
give you
I
an
have a lot
X-ray into
to,
Jeff's head here.
To practice. So why me and why now? Well, this role really excites me because I think it's a blank canvas. It's a blank space. It's a real opportunity to make a real impact on a global scale. And I'm really excited because I think I can bring my tech experience, not just from the UK, but also from the other sectors and the other continents that I've worked with, India, Asia, the US, and also Africa. And I think there's a real opportunity to build synergies amongst the impact sustainable, as well as the folks who have the money to invest. So I think it's a great opportunity to kind of bring that together and really build something of value, and that's going to that's really going to make I'm looking for a particular word which isn't coming to me, but I'm going to say make an impact in the world, but everybody says that, but I want there's a word I'm looking for. Sustainable impact.
Oh, I love
it's
that.
not quite it, but I'll work on it.
Okay. Now, Jeff, before you censor anything, give us your honest take. As Rahima was going through that answer, what's going through your head?
Yeah. So if I'm in interview mode, like in a lot of ways, I think she did what you're trying to do with that question, which is it's kind of like a thesis for an essay, like trying to give me the person like just a little flex into what I've got, but not all of it. But now you want to know more, right? So just like a little appetizer. And so I think the beginnings was right there. And I think like, oh, okay, she's done some stuff in tech, and you mentioned a few, I want to say like different regions that you were in. So you've had hints of it. And then I think, so that's great. And then I think the thing that I would say maybe to add would just be something about sustainability. Maybe if you've done that in the past, like that kind of work, maybe just add a little flex in there. Anything with global partnerships, so like partnership work that you've done some partnership stuff. And then the third thing would just be like, you're a move the needle kind of person. You're an achiever. So just maybe give one little, and I've been able to, we were here and then we were here. So like, wow, some great things. So that I would just add, and now I'm like, right, oh, I'm hooked because
Wow.
I'm hooked to listen further. Yeah.
I love that. What do you think, Rahima?
I really like that actually. I like actually how you said that I've been able to move the needle. So I like that terminology because a lot of people, when they think about me and they say, why would you hire Rahima? The first thing they say is because she gets shit done. Which doesn't really say, it doesn't sound so good in an interview, but I like that. I say, you know, you don't hire me if you want status quo. You hire me because you really want to have change, but really you're hiring me because you want to move the needle. That is powerful. Thank you.
Yeah. I think if I were to step back and think about everything Jeff just said, almost every point is around how do I de-risk myself with Redeem as a candidate? If I put her forward to the big boss, the CEO of this organization, and she cannot share clear examples of impact, she doesn't have a strong track record of success, that puts me in the hot seat. Now he's like, why did you waste my time, Jeff?
Whereas, not a good feeling. Not a good feeling.
Exactly. Whereas Rahima just sets your mind at ease from the first moment in terms of just blowing you away with all the stuff she's done. Now you're on easy street because you know that she's going to make you look good. So Rahima, I've got to thank you. That was probably the hardest role play of them all, and you aced it. Thank you so much, Rahima.
Jeremy, yeah, it was great. The quote that comes to mind is, you know, with interview practicing, I don't have time for your inarticulate passion. So you got to come, you know, you got to come. It's not that you're passionate. You're coming like in an articulate. You practiced, like you only have that one shot in these 30 minutes, right? So it's one thing to get your resume to the interview stage. Now you got to, like, you know, do well in this part. So.
Well, you have been articulate and passionate throughout, Jeff. So I want to give people a chance to learn more about how they can engage with you. Obviously, we've covered a lot today, but Jeff has so much more to share. I think you were mentioning to me before the call, Jeff, you're putting together this new video. It was like 10 things that recruiters wish they could tell you, but we get them fired or something like that, right?
Yeah. So my site is psychologyofarecruiter.com. Okay. So the thing that you're mentioning, Jeremy, I think we mentioned like things I couldn't say when I was a recruiter.
Yes, I see it.
So that's, if you're interested, I'm going to put together a very brief video sharing some of that.
I'm signing up right now.
The folks that attended today, put your email in, and then I'll share that video with you. But yeah, if you want to engage, I do coaching and a bunch of other stuff. Psychologyofarecruiter.com. Okay.
The link is in the chat. Please check Jeff out. Yeah.
One more, I guess I should throw out. One thing I did when I stopped recruiting was I said, and I worked with a bunch of my students and stuff, I was like, what was the resume style that really worked on me? And just what I often saw getting put into the yes stack of resumes, like what were those style elements? And why don't I just create a resume that worked? Like when I was at Microsoft and TikTok, often. So I created that. And then I went and got feedback from some of my recruiter colleagues and friends at some of the bigger name tech companies, got their feedback on it. And so I have that resume template. That is one thing that I have on my site.
Ooh, love that.
So,
okay, so here's what I'm going to say. I know we're a couple minutes past the hour, so I apologize to everyone because I know we've got busy schedules these days. That being said, if you've got additional questions for Jeff, rather than keep everyone on the line, you should reach out directly. So again, I'm going to share out this information so everyone can sign up for that. And then, Jeff, I just want to thank you so much. The volunteers were amazing. The question askers were awesome. And you brought it all together by letting us peer inside that world that too few job seekers ever get to see. Thank you so much, Jeff.
It was my pleasure. And thanks for the invite, Jeremy. We'll have to do maybe something in the future again. So I hope this was helpful. And folks out there, just know if you're not getting the results, you're not getting the callbacks, or you're getting interviews and it's not going through, just know it's going to be okay. We just got to adjust the strategy. There's more than one hiring manager that wants to hire you out there. You just got to keep going. So don't get too down on yourself. You just got to keep going.
I love that. All right. Well, thank you for keeping us all going here, Jeff. Here's wishing everyone a fantastic rest of the summer and many more exciting adventures ahead. Cheers, everyone.